Hi, this is Mr. Lieberman, and we are here to talk about the Mexican-American War. Just a quick review. Couldn't find George Juice today, so I'm going to have to do this myself. Well, here's what we want to talk about, some important things. Basically, the United States wanted the border to be here at the Rio Grande River, okay, where we have it now. But Mexico, they wanted the border to be over here. And I don't really know where they wanted to go past, maybe up here and like this, and they already had this over here. And well, the United States had this idea of manifest destiny. And what they thought was, the United States needs to go from one ocean to the other, from the Atlantic Ocean to the Pacific Ocean. And this was a huge idea at the time in the country. And President Polk was definitely influenced by this. And this was the idea that the U.S. would spread from the Atlantic to the Pacific. And, well, yeah, Mexico didn't care. And so, well, when the U.S. and Polk wanted Mexico to do this, they offered them $30 million for all this stuff here in Mexico. And so Polk sent General Zachary Taylor and a few other troops down here along the Rio Grande. And so Mexican troops saw this and they were afraid they were going to come over the river, and they shot at them. And so now that gave the United States the satisfaction, the idea that, you know what, now we can go to war. So um, this is General Taylor here. And by the way, he becomes the president later after Polk. And well, somewhere along the line, the Mexicans were losing the war. And one of the things I want to mention is the difference between a war and a battle. A war is composed of lots of battles. The battles are smaller entities, and a small battle is called a skirmish, right? So, but you put all these battles and these little skirmishes together, and they can go on for years or even just months sometimes, and we call them a war. And so basically, Santa Anna had been exiled here in Cuba. That meant he wasn't allowed to go to Mexico. He wasn't allowed to go to the United States. And he tricked the Americans to get out of Cuba. He was writing letters to President Polk and said, you know what, I'll help you out. Well, that wasn't true. He wasn't really interested in helping them out. He wanted to help the Mexicans out, which he did. So he got out of here and he was welcomed back into Mexico to fight against the Americans. This is why they call him the politician or the general with 9 lives, because they just let him go at it again and again and again. Well, just an interesting little trivia here. He had lost his leg 10 years before in a battle with the French. And this is his actual leg, which is in a museum now. Well, the U.S. soldiers captured Santa Anna's wounded leg, and he had to go hopping off the battlefield. This is in the Cerro Gordo battle. I have no idea if I pronounced that right. I tried. Um, so anyway, the final battle of the war was finally fought in Mexico City. And you can see here where some of the rest of it was. This was in 1848. And so the Mexico and the United States signed the Treaty of Guadalupe Hidalgo, and the U.S. got all this land in the red, all of California, all of Nevada, all of Utah, most of New Mexico, sorry, most of Arizona, some of New Mexico, and some of Colorado, and this is a little bit of Wyoming right here. Okay, so they got all that for $15 million. All right. Later, they bought what's called the Gadsden Purchase for $10 million, because this was much better country for putting a railroad through than this, because there are the Rocky Mountains through here, but right here there's a pass. Okay, and that is our wrap up of the Mexican American War.